Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another round of amazing new Haolonggood figures, and as you can see, we've got quite an interesting one to take a look at. This is the Tlatolophus, and this is a species of dinosaur I do not have in my collection at all. There's actually only one other model that I know that even exists of this species that I've seen personally anyway, so I'm super hyped to have one from Haolonggood. Of course, not just because it's a new species, but because, you know, it's going to be a pretty darn good figure. But you can see as far as the boxes go, actually we'll just move one out of the way because they're pretty much the same thing. Well, not pretty much, they are. You can see again we've got a nice shot here of the two different color variants, again two different versions as usual from Haolonggood. You can also see the species name, 1/35th scale, and the Haolonggood logo. And then if we turn it around, pretty much the same thing, you know, just some information on the bottom, the Haolonggood logo on the side. And then if we turn it all the way around, you can see kind of like a little checklist here of some of the Haolonggood releases, though there are many more than what you see here, of course. So, as always, I'm really hyped to take a look at these. Let's pop them out of the box and do just that. And here they are. Definitely two really nice looking figures. Of course, the sculpt is great. I never expect anything less from Haolonggood, but the paint jobs are also quite nice. This one actually looks a lot like the Tyrannosaurus that they had released a ways back as far as the coloration, though it is definitely a bit different. And then you've got the really nice brownish version. And I love, again, the fact that, as usual, they share that same kind of patterning, that same kind of color design, but different tones of color used. And I think both of them look really good. This time, you know, you would think that looking at this one, it would be the female just because it's a little less flashy, I think, than this one. But that beautiful blue crest back there, I don't know. I mean, I guess this would be the male, but they could easily both be males, or again, kind of look like they could both be females, so I guess you really get to choose your own preference as far as that goes. Regardless, they look awesome, so let's jump to a closer look and check them out from there. So we'll go with the brownish version to take a look at first, and if we start up here in the head sculpt, you can see that is a gorgeous looking head sculpt. You have really nice looking skin texture here throughout the face. You can kind of see like some small skin wrinkles and creases and stuff, sort of showing off the movement of the dinosaur as it clearly has its mouth in an open position. We can see the nostrils sculpted out up here on the beak. The beak itself does sport some nice fine detail to it. You can see a really nice smooth transition from the brownish tones of the face to a grayish tone for the beak, and then back to a bluish tone for that trademark crest. You can see the crest looks great again as far as that fine detail goes. You can see again kind of skin detail on that crest, and we don't really have any other color variation on it outside of the blue, but you can see that blue kind of runs down along the back of the head as well, just to add a little bit more flashiness. On the inside of the mouth, if my camera will focus on it, which it doesn't look like it's going to, nope, absolutely for some reason hates the inside of the mouth here. So you can see there is a tongue if we keep it at this. Oh, nope, now we lost that too. There is a tongue sculpted out on the inside of the mouth, the detailing on the inside. On the upper side, yeah, you can kind of see it in there. Oh, it looks pretty good, actually. Nice pinkish tone there for the inside of the mouth as well. We have a very nicely painted eye with a black, also sports a nice gloss coat to it. You can see the ears back there as well. As you begin to move down here into the neck, you can see a very nice big bulky neck for our figure. You can also see again that we have a darker tone moving along the spinal column. We begin picking up some ridges there that start out really small and increase in size quite a bit as you move through the figure. You can also see quite a bit of kind of creasing in the skin as the dinosaur obviously is lifting its head up, and it would be definitely creasing that skin. Very smooth transition down to that lighter tone. Look at how incredibly natural and smooth that transition is. That looks great. We have very fine skin texture on this, very fine scale detail, which I also think looks good. We have a patterning beginning to pick up as we have some darker browns kind of leading down from the upper side of the dinosaur and kind of striping down as well as spotting in a few areas. But you can also see kind of like a light gray, almost the same kind of light gray we see on the greenish version here on this version as well. As you lead down into the front leg, you can see more as far as like the skin stretching as well as creasing in the joint of the elbow. We start to transition to a darker brown as we move down into the foot, and it transitions away again to a gray as you lead down into the foot. You can see the nails sculpted out right there, the toes as well. kind of. Yeah, it definitely looks really quite nice. Obviously, this foot is planted as the opposing foot is picking up off of the ground. As you lead back up into the stomach, again, you can see the skin stretching off of the stomach as the rear leg is trailing a little bit. A little variation of color right there as well, as we have a darker brown in the skin of that area. Again, more of that patterning moving through the course of the stomach. You can make out the shoulder blade as well as the hip bone right here. We can also see that, again, those ridges do pick up in size quite drastically, but then they decrease again and then pick back up again for a little bit here, and then decrease again as you lead out into the tail. As we move down here into the thigh, you can see the muscle definition, but it's not overly defined. I think it looks nice. Again, that striping as we move through, kind of leading back from the thigh. A little bit of creasing in the back of the knee, as well as the knee here in the front, and then the calf muscle also quite nicely defined. You can see this foot is kind of picking up off of the ground, and you can sort of see the tensing of that shown off right there. Again, we pretty much have the same type of coloration moving down as we do in the front legs, as we have a grayish tone for the feet, and again, that also looks quite nice. As we move back up here, you can see a little creasing right here back behind the thigh as we lead out in our quite large bulky tail here that obviously decreases in size quite quickly. But what's cool about this is you can see we have that darker brown, but there's also a different variation of brown kind of running along with it. You can really see the different variation down here, but you can also sort of see it outlining the darker brown as you lead up here toward the top of the dinosaur. And then as you lead out toward the tip, we do end the tip of the tail in almost like a bluish gray sort of a tone. Not much in the way of like curvatures or anything for the tail. You can see just a slight one, not really too much as far as that goes. When it comes to the underside of the dinosaur, you can see that striping does run through the underside of our HADROSAUR, and as we move along, we can see a cloaca present, it looks like right there. A little hard to actually notice it, but it is there. There's also like some slight hints of brownish tones here on the underside, and you can also see a very light wash on the underside of that foot as well. But as you continue to move along, you can see the sculpt and detail looks really nice on the underside as you lead up into the throat of the dinosaur. And then if we take a look at the opposing side, again, the head sculpt looks really good with the mouth wide open, letting out some form of a vocalization. And as you lead back here, actually, yeah, the eyes are actually a little sloppy right there. You can see the eyes are painted a little bit sloppily, which is not something I often see from Haolonggood, but definitely something worth mentioning. But as you lead back into the neck, again, you can see pretty much the same type of detailing we saw on the first side, because the dinosaur does have its head turned toward its right, but not enough that it's really going to make a massive difference when it comes to the appearance. The leg is picking up over here on this side, obviously, as it's taking a step and the dinosaur is walking along. You can see the rear leg is pushing into the stomach here, which allows a whole bunch of creasing there in the front of the stomach, and also some skin detail here on the thigh. Again, as you can kind of see like skin creasing and wrinkling there as well. And then you continue to lead along again with that really neat patterning, the super smooth transitions down to the lighter tone of the underside as we lead out again into that really nice tail. And we, of course, again have the alternate paint variant, which is a bit flashier, as, again, the sculpts are definitely the same. I don't see any differences between the two different sculpts, but obviously the coloration is quite a bit different, as we primarily have a greenish tone for the body of this one. You can see we transition out to a brown for the beak rather than the gray we saw on the other one. The inside of the mouth looks like it's potentially the same tone of color or very similar. I would say probably the same, but as we lead back into the crest of this one, you can see we've got quite a bit of very, very cool looking coloration here, as we've got a really vibrant green that transitions back to a yellowish tone and then transitions back to an orangish tone. So they definitely knew what they were doing when it comes to the flashiness of the crest on this one, which, I mean, the other one did have a nice flashy tone of color, but that's extra flashy. And you can see a little bit of that coloration running along the back of the head as well, just like we saw on the other one. We've got a nice black eye, just like we saw on the other one as well. As you lead down, you see again the body color has that greenish tone. We've got a really smooth transition here to the lighter tone of the underside. You can see the same thing here for the stomach region. Again, really smooth transitioning. And again, we also have this lighter tone that kind of creeps down from the upper side Looks like maybe a little bit more kind of than the other one, just because the other one had a mixture of this light tone and the brown, whereas this one is only sporting that kind of light grayish tone. We do also have a brown running along the back, kind of following along those ridges in the spinal column. And then, of course, we have a darker tone for the feet, kind of like a dark gray. But outside of that, it looks like everything else is pretty much the same as the other one, except kind of, just different tones of color. Maybe we do actually have a little bit of like a pinkish tone there on the underside of the thigh as well, which is definitely nice to see. But obviously, there's no huge differences between the coloration, same style of patterning and everything from one to the other, just different tones of color. But I will say I think I like this one the best out of both of them. As far as a size goes for our figure, lengthwise you are looking at about 8 3/4 inches, somewhere around that vicinity, or a little over 22 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point would actually probably be the back, so just a hair under 3 1/4 inches, or approaching 8.5 centimeters, but not quite. So I'd say maybe a little over 8 centimeters. For a size comparison, here is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day human being next to our Haolonggood Tlatolophus, and you can see that they are pretty decently sized, not huge by any means, and honestly they're pretty much exactly where I expected them to be. And when it comes to other comparisons, I think we'll just bring in a few Haolonggood comparisons since I don't have any other figures of this species. I think the best comparison I could probably give you guys would be this one with the Ouranosaurus from Haolonggood, because you can see they are very similar in size overall. Obviously the Ouranosaurus is a bit taller, but similar in size, similar in length, similar in body mass. You can also see a comparison between the green Ouranosaurus and the green Tlatolophus, and you can see again that the colors are kind of similar, but at the same time they are actually quite a bit different. Like the tones of color are very different, as are the tones of color in the striping and patterning. But at first glance, again, you would definitely think they look pretty similar until you actually see them next to each other. We've also got the Haolonggood Allosaurus stepping in for a comparison. Again, you can see that obviously the Allosaurus is similar in size, kind of, but maybe a little bit smaller when it comes to body mass. And then we've also got the Nasutoceratops from Haolonggood for one final comparison. I don't think we need to do too many because I think we've got a pretty good idea of the size of these figures, but I did want to bring in the Nasutoceratops because I know that is a very popular release from Haolonggood. So these brand new Haolonggood Tlatolophus are really nice figures. The sculpts are fantastic. They did a great job on every aspect of the sculpt, in my opinion. Really nice walking pose, looks nice and natural, and it's a nice pose to kind of have a whole bunch of these because it could look like a really cool herd of the species just kind of moving through, which I think is really nice. But also just generally, again, the appearance is really well done. The way you can see kind of like the bones and the positioning, like the hip bone and stuff, because of the way that the leg is positioned, you can kind of see it, almost envision how the body's moving. So that's really cool. And on top of that, the skin texture is really nice, but it's nice and fine. So it looks a little bit different than a lot of the other Haolonggood releases we've seen before when it comes to the skin texture, but I really do quite like that as well. And of course, the dinosaur has just generally a very unique appearance, which I think they've captured perfectly in this model. On top of that, we've got the really nice coloration for both. Again, you can, as always, look at this as a male and female because I think that's usually what they're going for with their releases, and you absolutely have that here with these two. Again, I think the brown one would be the female, even if it does have the bluish tones moving along a few areas in the body, again giving it that little bit of flashiness. But overall, I feel like the greenish version is definitely a lot flashier, so in my opinion, especially just with the coloration of that crest, like, it's definitely the male if you ask me. Who could resist a crest as beautiful as that? But again, the actual application of the paint is all very nice and smoothly applied. The only thing that I think these figures are missing when it comes to the paintwork would be that dark wash that they've been applying to a lot of their figures recently. But at the same time, the skin texture is so fine on these figures. I don't know that a dark wash would work on them so well. So I feel like not including the dark wash on these ones was probably the better choice, because rather than looking like a dark wash and highlighting the detail, had they actually applied it, I almost feel like it would have just made it look like a really sloppy paint job. So they definitely went the right route when it comes to the paintwork of this one and not including that dark wash. And all of the application of the paint, again, as far as like the patterning and everything, I think looks really smooth and crisp. And overall, I would say both of these figures are fantastic additions to any collection, and just generally really exciting because it is a species that I do not have in my collection. So if you are interested in picking these up for yourself, I will include a link in the description to where I purchased mine from Lana Time Shop. So make sure you check that link, go grab these gorgeous brand new Haolonggood figures, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.